Okay, well, this one's not cool.
Alright, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm so excited for you guys to be here tonight. Heart strong, you guys are being proactive, it's awesome. So today what we're gonna do is we're going to be talking about the heart, right? Obviously. But we're gonna be talking about what is health, what is true health, how heart disease is built, and how we can reverse it through lifestyle. So for our guest here, my name is Havala, and I'm the facility director here. And we have 5 essentials to health. First one's the mindset. So you need to know what health is in order to achieve it, right? So that's what we have these workshops for, so you guys can learn what true health is for every area of the life. Second is max nerve supply. So we're going to get more into that with spinal correction. Third, nutrition. Everybody knows you need nutrition and fitness, which is our 4th essential in order to be healthy. And then the 5th one is minimizing toxins. So we're going to be touching on a little bit of all of those today and educating you guys on what true health is. And I'm just really excited for that. I know some of you guys have heard parts of my story before, and you might be thinking like, oh, what does her story have to do with heart health? Well, it has everything to do with heart health, because everything I went through, everything we're talking about tonight, allows my heart to be healing and functioning. So if you guys remember, when I was 13, I was really super active. I did volleyball, dance, basketball, you name it, I did it. All until one day I developed severe headaches that I wound up having every single day of my life. They very quickly turned into migraines that I have up to 3 times a week. On top of that, I developed severe allergies to not only foods, but like environmental factors. So like if somebody was wearing heavy cologne, perfume, or even just like smelly laundry detergent, my whole body would break out into hives, and my hands and my feet would swell up. And on top of all of that, I started passing out very regularly. 27 times within just a 2-week period was the most I ever passed out. Yeah, it was crazy. So what did I do? You know, America tells us go to the medical doctor. And so that's what I did. They took test after test. I was on 6 different medications at just 14 years old. And I went down that path for about 4 years, and they gave me a whole bunch of different diagnoses throughout that time, like hyperglycemia, fibromyalgia, but they never told me why my body was that way. They never told me what the cause of my problems were. And so here I am, 4 years later, new set of medications, have way more symptoms than when I started because of the effects of the medication. And I'm like, great, gotta go back to my doctor. And so I go back and I'm like, hey doc, what's up? Like, it's been 4 years, why aren't there any answers? And can you specifically tell me what's wrong with my body that your recommendations wouldn't be helping? And he just kind of gave me a blank stare and was like, not really sure what's going on. Let's take some more tests. Let's do, you know, another specialist, more medications. I'm like, look, medication's not good for my body. I'm really sick without them, and I'm even worse with them. So this doesn't make sense for me to continue down this path. And so at that point, I stopped everything that he was saying, and I just kind of made the best life I could with those symptoms, and just accepted I was going to have to deal with those for the rest of my life. And it wasn't until about 3 years later I actually got a job in a Max Living office, and they sat me down in the exam room, and the doctor came in and treated me like a patient and was like, today we're going to look for the cause of your problems. And I was just blown away because nobody had ever done that for me before to start off with. But on top of that, they found it on that day. And I'm not sure if you guys can see this chart here if I'm in the way, but we should all have 3 45-degree curves from the side, straight up and down from the front in our spine. That's the normal position. Just like you have a normal heart rate, blood pressure, all those things, that's normal for your spine. When they took the x-ray and marked it of me, what they found was a negative 11-degree curve in my neck of a combination. So it was literally choking my brain stem and not allowing the rest of my body to heal and to function. Not allowing my heart to heal and function, my lungs, all of my detox systems in my body to heal and function the way they should. So since then, we've been working on correcting those curves and plug in the rest of the essentials for life. And because of that, it's the only reason I'm literally allowed to stand up here in front of you guys and talk, breathe in this air. So I'm just super excited for you guys to have all this information and to have lifestyle tips to take into every single day and just live the best life that you can. So I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Jake here.
All right, give her a round of applause. So what was the biggest change factor that you saw? What was the biggest change?
Somebody wanted to look for the cause,
Yeah, absolutely. Those things are all very important, but she actually had to make a decision. And so today I'm going to be presenting some very good information and a lot of really detailed stuff. I've been pouring into my heart research, my cardiology for the last week, and probably could go way deeper than any of you would like. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it simple, stupid, right? Right? So that way we can all walk out with practical steps to avoid heart disease, or if we have heart disease, to start reversing it. Because we know from the literature that most cases, upwards of 90%, really of all chronic disease, is preventable and reversible by lifestyle. And so it's just a matter of finding the cause from our end, right? But if you find the cause, is that enough? No, what's required? You have to take action, and that's the biggest thing that Havla did, and she's done it as well as anybody I've ever seen. She plugged in to each of our 5 essentials. So yes, you know, we've got, I'm not going to show that video right now, but it's a really cool one. If anyone ever wants to know what the link is directly between chiropractic and heart disease, just look at the George Bakras study, B-A-K-R-A-S, and they did an incredible study that was replicated numerous times, showing that one adjustment just at the top of the neck that relieved pressure on the brainstem brought the blood pressure of the patients down by the same amount as 2 blood pressure medications taken simultaneously. Wow. Okay, so that's that. This is me. I'm Dr. Jake. I started Good Life Family Chiropractic just a couple years ago with Havla, my sister and facility director. Our goal is a healthy you, so that you can have a good life and you can do it naturally. When we follow God's laws of health and healing, the natural laws of health and healing, do you expect to get sick or do you expect to stay healthy? Healthy. But our society, our culture is strayed so far away from that health is no longer the norm. In fact, I'm going to show you research here that shows that every single American age 10 and up has heart disease. We may not all die of it. Some of us die of other things sooner. But what's the difference between dying of heart disease at 90 and dying of cancer at 80? The cancer got you sooner. And those are the top 2 killers in the United States. Over 50% of all deaths happen because of one of those 2 diseases. So we're going to talk about the upcoming events later tonight. The next event is one that you're absolutely not going to want to miss. It's our Super Immunity, a lifelong immunity seminar. We're going to be doing that on Saturday. What month's next? September 22nd. We're going to do that at 9 a.m. and I want you to give me a full 2 hours to go through what it looks like to build a healthy immune system. I'm going to go over the basics here with building a strong body, a strong health, strong cardiology, strong heart. But when we get into the immune system, when we get into how to beat cancer, that's a little bit more in detail. So we'll get into that, and we're gonna cover every single health topic that you guys never wanted to know about, right? Can I get an amen? Yeah, I answer all sorts of questions that you guys never asked, but we're gonna get into this now. So this is what we get into. So we do this through the 5 essentials. I'm gonna talk about all of these today in relation to your heart, and we're gonna talk about the heart because even though cancer and heart disease are the number 1, number 2, heart disease is the number 1 killer in the United States. It's the number 1 leading killer worldwide, in fact. It's not just here in the U.S. No country has a handle on this. Even though we understand it, we don't put into practice exactly what it takes to get this to reverse. Why? Because it's hard. Because it's countercultural. But what does Scripture say about conforming to the patterns of this world? Yeah, do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's why you guys are here. Renew your mind so that you can test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. We could go into more, And I probably will. I used to be a pastor at some point. Seems like a separate life. But yeah, Scripture just comes to mind. Like when you align yourself with God's laws and principles, the creation sometimes speaks about the Creator. When does people don't speak about it? And so I'm going to tell you about how creation is speaking through the science, through the research. So yeah, number one cause of death is cardiovascular disease. Last year, it was over 840,000 deaths. The second leading cause of death was cancer, and cancer was around 500,000 deaths. And then you look down and everybody's freaking out about opioid deaths. That's number 8 on the list. That's 64,000 deaths. So that drops off really fast. And how long have we been fighting cardiovascular disease? Forever. Well, not really forever. It's actually a modern problem. It really is. It's a modern problem. It's a problem that we've gotten ourselves into with the modern lifestyle and modern agriculture. This farm production system that we've created has really led to a lot of problems. So, what's a myth? That heart disease is normal with aging, that your heart just starts backing up, getting clogged down, that your arteries start clogging up just because you're old. Did Moses have a problem with that? No, Moses lived to how long? 130. Yeah, split the difference, right? 120, 130. He lived to 130 before God took him. But he didn't die of heart disease. He didn't get up on that mountaintop and view the promised land and, heart attack. Abraham, he lived to be 150, I want to say, or maybe 180 is what we're remembering. We've got a pastor in the house if we need some clarification. It's Bible trivia night. But yeah, no, we're going to keep going. But yeah, this was not a problem during biblical times. And what was one of the biggest chunks of Scripture in the Old Testament that God gave for the Israelites?
How to eat.
Nutritional laws. How to eat, how to live, how to wash your hands, things to stay away from, things that needed proper oversight from a priest before you were considered clean. And I'm not saying that these things are a sin issue, but at the same time, what does the word sin mean? It's archery term, right? Now, when you sin in archery, it just means you missed the mark. It doesn't mean that you're going to hell because you like to eat pork. But you may not get God's perfect will out of your life if you consistently go against His laws and principles. And so we need to make sure that we're aligning ourselves with those laws and principles as much as possible. Now, there's some exceptions though, right? So what does Scripture say about going into someone else's home and eating their food? It says eat it.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as you're invited, right? You don't just walk in and take it. But if you're invited, especially as a missionary, if you're reaching out in friendship and brotherhood as a representative of Jesus Christ, then He says, eat the food, bless the house. If there's any impurities in there, that God will take care of it, right? And we hear all sorts of stories about that. But if we willingly go to the grocery store and we pick up a Twix bar, is God going to bless that just because we said, God, bless and nourish this food to my body's needs?
Probably not.
What inside that Twix bar is God going to have to do in order to get that to nourish you? Yeah, basically turn it into a leaf of kale, right? Yeah, a stalk of kale. Yeah, I don't think God's going to do that for you because you willingly chose to pick up the Twix bar instead of the piece of kale. And so this is how this happened. This is how heart disease happens. So no, it's not normal with aging. It's very, very common. The way that we live our lives leads to this. In fact, what they found is that by age 10, in 100% of children studied, they found fatty streaks in their blood vessels. The first stage of atherosclerosis, which is cardiovascular disease. Wow. Okay. So, we're doing this to ourselves before age 10. It's the things that we're putting into our bodies way back then, even I would say in utero, the way that the mother eats affects the way that the baby's heart and cardiovascular system is going to heal and function. And so when's it important to get started on heart health? Now? Yeah, absolutely. But really even more, this group, we're talking about our grandkids, aren't we? Some of us, we still have children, that are living in the house. those people need to start making those changes so that you can affect the grandkids' lives. And so, it's not just for us, right? Because once you know information like this that is life-saving, to keep it to yourself, that's borderline criminal. You have to share this information with others. We have to get this truth out there. It's common, but it's not normal. So more than 1/3 of all deaths in the U.S., one death every 38 seconds, if you need a little gauge at how fast that happens. So I talk about this slide for about 2 minutes. That's almost 4 deaths, just due to heart disease. The cost of cardiovascular disease this year in our country is $555 billion with a B dollars. It's going up. It's going up, and they estimate that by 2035, that's 1.1 trillion with a T dollars. And so this isn't just costing us our lives, this is costing us time, money, this is costing our economy money. We spend more in the United States on healthcare costs than any other country in the world. 1 out of every 5 American dollars goes to healthcare costs. 1 out of every $5 from your pocket goes to healthcare costs. And it's because we're waiting, right? Because how many 10-year-olds have a heart attack? Any is too many, but not very many, right? But by the age of 45, that's when about 10% of all the heart attacks happen, before the age of 45. After that, it's later. So you're not getting the most common symptoms until after that, usually. But usually you have to have heart disease for 20 years before you feel the first symptoms. And that's when it's diagnosed. That's when they can go and they say, oh, you actually have cardiovascular disease. And what's the #1 most common symptom of heart disease? A heart attack. And you're absolutely right. Death is the #1 most common symptom, because even though we have the best emergency care here in the United States for surviving heart attacks, it's still just a 40% survival rate for the heart attack. And so we have to do something differently. We're waiting too long, it's costing us too much, and no, it's not just dollars and cents, is it? Because who's relying on you right now? Your family, your friends. How badly will it hurt them to lose you? How badly will it hurt you to lose them? Because it's going to get it. We all have it. I have it. You have it. It doesn't matter what you're doing right now, how well you plugged into the 5 essentials. You started off behind the 8 ball.
Yes.
Because most of you came to the 5 essentials late in the game, right?
Yes.
Some of you, today is your first experience, your first exposure. And so it takes action, and it takes massive action. And so we can't just meander into this. So I want all of you to pick one thing tonight, and I want you to make a choice today to implement it. Implement that one thing so that you can start with a foundation. Because once you have one thing, then you can add one more thing. And every time you add one more thing, you get closer and closer to that goal, so that you can live your life the way that God wants you to. So what are the key risk factors? So we know these, right? If you smoke, you're at higher risk for heart disease and everything else, right? Yeah, and so that's a great first step for a lot of people. Stop it, right? Just stop it. Yeah, so if you're a smoker, you need to stop. It's not doing you any favors. I know it's addictive, and I know it takes some steps in there, but there's help available. There's absolutely help available, and we'll point you for that help. Next one, high blood pressure. That's a huge warning sign. That one's known as a silent killer. And then high cholesterol. About half of Americans have at least one of these 3 risk factors. And these aren't things you feel necessarily. These are things that happen silently underneath because of what we do. So let's talk about high cholesterol to start. So cholesterol is a waxy, soft substance that's produced naturally in your body. So that should be a big eye-opener for a lot of you, because a lot of you are taking a statin of some sort to limit your cholesterol. And your doctors told you to not eat cholesterol-rich foods, or not eat fatty foods. But if cholesterol is so bad for you, why does God make it in your liver? And 80% of what's in your bloodstream is produced by your liver. Think about it. No, just think logically. Well, what's it there for? We have to ask what it's there for. Well, let's think about HDL versus LDL. We were told that good cholesterol is HDL. HDL's job is to regulate LDL and promote excretion. It basically transports the LDL, or the quote-unquote bad cholesterol, out of the body when there's too much of it. So there's a mechanism in there for safety purposes. So if you have good numbers on good cholesterol, then your cholesterol's healthy. But if you have LDL, high levels of LDL, that's the cholesterol that's in your bloodstream. That's this dark stuff. That's the stuff that lines the arteries. And we're told that that's the cause of heart disease. That's another myth. It's not actually the cause of heart disease. It is a step along the way, because the job of LDL isn't just storage in the bloodstream. Its job is to go to damaged areas of the bloodstream and basically start forming a scab. If you have a damaged area in your cardiovascular system, LDL will show up there. And the more damaged areas you have, the higher LDL levels. So is it a bad thing that you have LDL or high LDL? Not necessarily. What's that there for? Why is that there? And that's what the real cause of heart disease is. It's actually oxidation of cholesterol that causes heart disease. Because this is soft and waxy, it moves around. The HDL picks it up and carries it away once it's healed. And what causes the oxidation of cholesterol? Free radicals and inflammation. Free radicals and inflammation. If you're taking notes, write that down. Because what are free radicals? Free radicals are the toxins in our environment that come in and start to create these free electrons bouncing around. Anybody hear that X-rays cause cancer? It's because of free radicals. Now, you'd have to basically sit in front of my X-ray machine all day. I'd have to have it cranked up all the way and be constantly pressing the button for you to get there. But you'd create enough free radicals that eventually those would start to create heart disease and cancer in your body. Okay, that's good to know. Well, what's the other one? Inflammation from. Well, inflammation, that is when your body is basically attacked. So let's say you have a bad knee, you tweaked it wrestling, all right? You're all wrestlers back in high school, right? You were on the mat, somebody landed on your leg. What's going to happen first? Right? It's going to swell up. All this blood is going to flow. Their white blood cells are going to come in. It's going to start repairing itself. Inflammation is basically the first step in the healing process. So what has to be there first? Yeah, damage of some sort. But most of us aren't damaged by old wrestling injuries, right? Most of us are damaged because of the choices we make every day. Sugar is a major cause of inflammation. Bad fats, not just fats, bad fats, processed foods are a major cause of inflammation in the body. So we're going to get into that and what we can do about that, because that's basically why cholesterol becomes the enemy, why your doctor will put you on a statin medication. Good to know. Truths about cholesterol. It's the oxidation of cholesterol that causes heart disease. Did you know that more people have a heart attack with normal cholesterol than elevated cholesterol? Yeah. Yeah. More people have a heart attack with low cholesterol than high cholesterol. Wow. Why? Well, I didn't tell you everything that cholesterol is for. Cholesterol is a precursor for virtually every hormone in your body. It is the backbone of testosterone. What does testosterone do? It's a healing hormone. When you're trying to build muscle mass because you don't want osteoporosis, you need testosterone to build that muscle mass. It's a precursor for estrogen. If you want a normal cycle, normal hormone levels, estrogen needs to be normalized. It needs to be able to come up and come down as necessary. It's the precursor for vitamin D3. You guys know that vitamin D is a hormone? Yeah. If you do not have cholesterol in your body, then you cannot make vitamin D3. You're like, Dr. Jake, I thought I was supposed to take vitamin D3 as a supplement. No, you're supposed to get vitamin D3 from the sunshine. But what do we do all day instead of being in the sunshine? We sit indoors in the air conditioning working on our computers, and so nobody has normal levels of vitamin D3. We actually have to get out there, and then when the sun hits our skin, it creates a reaction. We absorb some of the energy from the sun, and our liver transforms that into vitamin D3, and that actually boosts your heart health. Vitamin D3 is necessary for heart health. So if you're not getting sunshine, like most Americans, me too, I work during the middle of the day just like you, then we're not going to have a healthy heart. And so we need that as well. So if that's a precursor for every hormone in the body, does it make sense why we don't want low levels of cholesterol? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing is, think about your nervous system. What does it control? Everything. Trick question, right? The nervous system controls every organ, cell, and tissue in your body. It is 70% fat, and every single neuron in your nervous system is covered in units of cholesterol. Cholesterol is hydrophobic, and it loves lipids. It loves fats. And so it's attracted to your nervous system. And why it's there is because it actually needs those hormones to attach to it to send messages in and out of your nervous system. And so if you don't have healthy levels of cholesterol, does it make sense that actually it might affect brain function? It might affect nerve function? It might affect function of the heart by not allowing the nerves to actually send the signals to your heart that it's supposed to have. So we need those healthy levels of cholesterol. And the other thing, every single cell in your body is surrounded by a phospholipid bilayer, basically meaning it's mostly fat. Every single cell, just like every single neuron, has those cholesterol units in there to make sure that they're healing and functioning well. So again, does it make sense that you need a healthy level of cholesterol in your body in order for you to be healthy? In order for you to avoid death? Yeah. And what they found is that when you take a statin medication to lower your cholesterol, that it prevents death about 1 out of every 56 times. So 56 people would have to be regularly taking that statin medication for one person's life to be saved. Now don't get me wrong, that's worth it. And in a lot of cases, that's absolutely necessary. I'm not saying to get off of your statin medication. This is something you need to work with your medical doctor or your pharmacist on. How do you get your cholesterol levels healthy? You have to get to the cause of why it's high in the first place. Because yes, if you keep your cholesterol levels high and you create oxidative stress and it oxidizes that cholesterol, yeah, you'll get heart disease. You'll end up with a heart attack. That's the science. But is it the cause? No, it's the oxidation. So we need to get into more. So what creates that? We talked about that inflammation. We talked about that. Those bad fats, those sugars, the inflammation. Regular exercise can actually increase your good levels of cholesterol. We don't get exercise as a society, as a culture. The CDC recommends 5 days a week at 30 minutes a day of cardio. They call it cardio because it's supposed to be good for your heart. Yeah. Who's getting that? Yeah, hey, 1 out of how many? 1 out of 20? Yeah. I mean, you guys can raise your hand too. I know you guys exercise. But no, I mean, when you ask a room, most people aren't getting the amount of exercise that they need. And so getting those levels normalized depends on meeting those natural laws and principles that God created to govern health. So we'll get you to that. So, the silent killer. Blood pressure, right? Who has high blood pressure? Probably just about everybody. Because what is blood pressure? Blood pressure is the measurement of how much pressure your blood puts on your arteries and on your veins. Mostly just arteries. And so, it should be normal levels, right? 120 over 80. 120 is the amount that we want. 80 is the amount that we want. What's considered high? Well, they actually keep changing the numbers.
Yeah.
Who remembers when normal was 130 over 90?
Yeah.
Anybody remember, 140 over 100? Yeah, 150 over 110? I mean, maybe we're not all that old. But those were all normals at one point in our society, in our culture. And just recently, they came out with a new recommendation saying it should be 115 over 75.
Yeah.
Okay, that puts me in a slightly elevated count. But yeah, no, some people, and your blood pressure is a variable unit, right? If I go exercise, is my blood pressure going to go up, stay the same, or go down? It's going up. Why? Because I need the blood pressure to be higher. I need more blood flowing through my arteries and veins and get into all those different cells and provide oxygen and take away carbon dioxide and provide all those micronutrients to get to every cell and tissue and organ in my body. That blood is necessary to carry that there, and that blood pressure is necessary. But then when I stop exercising, it needs to come back down. And so, it's definitely something that we want to normalize, but if all I do is I go in and I take a blood pressure lowering medication to lower it, have I addressed the cause of that blood pressure? No. Why is blood pressure high? Well, one, your body needs it. Naturally, it goes up as you get older. And that hasn't been proven to be bad for you. Now, it still should fall within a normal range, but I would say, and I would postulate, that it should not be at 120/80 when you are 80. No. Why? Because you just need more blood to keep you going. You need more nutrients to keep you going. There's more oxidative stress. Yes, you've accumulated more free radicals, and so you need more white blood cells. You need more micronutrients as your body gets older and starts breaking down. You get injured joints more. I'm 35, right? And so can I do at 35 what I could do at 25 without injury? Not quite the same. And a lot of you are a few years older than that. How much less can you do without injury? A lot more, right? It takes more. It takes putting more effort in from an internal perspective to just overcome those normal activities of daily living. And so some increase in blood pressure should be normal, but it's probably not 180 over 120, right? We do want to stay close to that normal level. But if I, as a 35-year-old male, if I took a blood pressure medication right now with my blood pressure being 120/80, would that be healthy for me? No. That would have a toxic effect, right? I would start getting sick. And one of the side effects would mean my blood pressure would drop low. Is low blood pressure a problem?
Yes.
Absolutely. And so artificially lowering the blood pressure, is that the answer to the problem? No. Why would my body elevate my blood pressure to begin with? It has a need for elevated blood pressure. And whether that's because my arteries have started to harden because of the calcification and oxidation of cholesterol, or it's because I don't exercise, is besides the fact. Just taking that blood pressure lowering medication isn't enough. It may save you in a crisis, don't get me wrong. If your doctor's got you on a blood pressure medication, do you just jump off of it? No, you talk to your doctor and say, hey, I want to try some things. I'm taking these steps. I want to get my blood pressure levels normalized naturally. Can you work with it? And if you can't, it's time to fire your doctor, hire a new one, right? Because if your doctor isn't working with you, what's he doing? He's working against you, absolutely. And so just because he knows more than you do doesn't mean anything. Because when you're diagnosed with something, who should be the expert in that condition? I should. If I'm diagnosed with cancer, guess what? I'm going to become the expert. Cancer. If I'm diagnosed with heart disease, what am I going to become the expert in? Heart disease, and how to reverse those things. Because I'm going to do anything I can to reverse the things that are going to keep me from fulfilling my purpose, being there for my children, my wife, and future grandchildren. Because God put me here to be a part of their lives and to lead them. So it's important to understand where this is coming from. So these are the different stages of heart disease within those blood pressure ranges. Even that's a little bit higher than 120/80, right? There's some wiggle room in there yet. Yeah, and some people have higher than that. But I've had higher ones than that, right? When you're sprinting, whether that's to catch a bus or just because you think that's good exercise, you may get your blood pressure over 200. That's normal. This is a variable rate. That's why they check it at the same time every day. But who's to say that they got the right one? Because there's 24 hours in a day and they just took it for, 30 seconds to get that number? Blood pressure cuff goes up and it comes down. Anybody ever sit down in the Walmart and put your arm through the thing, press the button? It was a little different than when they did it in the doctor's office, right? Because things are different, conditions are different. Blood pressure is supposed to come up and down. These numbers are supposed to be variable. So key risks: blocked arteries, atherosclerosis, and a heart attack. So blocked arteries, obviously, if that's blocked, you need to get that clear, right? Atherosclerosis, that's the hardening of the artery, oftentimes through the oxidation of cholesterol. And then a heart attack. Oh yeah, that's something that you don't want to have because that means that you're not getting proper blood supply to the muscle of the heart. That's what a myocardial infarction is. So we need to avoid those as much as possible. So, you know, some prescriptions over-the-counter medications as well as supplements and other substances can raise your blood pressure. Some of you are doing things that are actually raising your blood pressure. So it's important to look at side effects lists. It's important to know what those things are. What are some of those things? Well, anybody ever take an anti-inflammatory? It can actually raise your blood pressure. Okay. Antidepressants. Some people are on those. Those are actually a growing class of medications, creeping up, getting closer and closer to number one. Can raise your blood pressure. Birth control. I don't expect the men in this room to be on that, but they're trying. They're trying to come up with those. But yeah, that can raise blood pressure. There's some other things. Caffeine, a cup of coffee in the morning, your blood pressure is higher. You drink a cup of coffee, caffeinated all day, blood pressure goes up. So it's absolutely essential that we don't get too much of those things. Cold medication. I did this once. I went to the dentist with like a cold, and this was before I was in chiropractic school. I took the cold meds, and you know, it did its thing. It let me breathe a little bit more because I knew I would have like my mouth open and people's hands in my mouth, and because they were drilling. And they gave me the Novocaine, and the interaction between the two shot my blood pressure through the roof.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not safe to mix meds. Not safe to mix meds at all. And I told them, and they're like, as long as you don't pass out, I guess it's fine. At least they're trained, right? No, it's not good. And some herbal supplements can also raise your blood pressure. And so it's important to know what you're taking and what the effects are. So, what do we want to do differently? Well, instead of just relying on medication to cover up our symptoms, let's get to the cause and treat it at the source, so that safely you can work with your doctor to start coming off of these medications, and then your body can be healthy the way God designed it to. So we're going to start with nutrition. And I do like to go into a lot of detail on nutrition. I'm going to try not to, because I know we're already getting up close to the time that I said we would be at. But I do a little bit of nutrition in every talk I give, because why? Because it's essential, right? If it's essential, you can't live without it. And so we have to have healthy nutrition for this. And so it's important to have a healthy diet. Which one is healthier for you? Yeah, the vegetables, right? When God created the Garden of Eden, did he put hamburgers on a slab and say, Adam and Eve, here you go, this is the perfect food for you to eat? No, he said, you may eat of any tree of the garden, right? And any plant that grows from the earth. And that's what we're supposed to be. And then after the flood, some things changed, and he said that we could eat certain animals, right? He said we could, but what have we done with that? I'm not one that actually believes that this is how we evolved, but it's funny, right? It's funny. Yeah, no, this is where we are now, though, right? Because we aren't hunter-gatherers anymore. We don't work for our food. We drive up to the window and we say, I want one of those. Go kill or slaughter the fattened calf, and they bring it out for you. Yeah, and all you pay is $1.99. Yeah, how are you investing in your health, or are you investing in sickness and disease? Sickness and disease. And so we have to start looking at our nutrition as an investment. It's either going to be the best form of medicine or the worst form of poison. And that's not me that came up with that. So, what are some things that we need to do? Well, number one, we need to cut out the sugar. We consume 170 pounds of sugar every single year, 65 pounds of high fructose corn syrup every single year. Where do you think most of that's coming from? Soda.
Sodas.
I would rather have you drink beer than a soda. Honestly. I would rather have you drink beer than a soda. There's more nutritional value in you drinking a beer than a soda. But yeah, absolutely. You're supposed to be drinking water. half your body weight in ounces of water a day. So I weigh about 220, so I should drink 110 fluid ounces of water. That's what my body is designed for. And who gets that? Not many people, right? As people that are taking drinks of water, I reminded you. That's all take a swig. I never get enough. I like coffee too
Coffee's good.
much. Now I do drink decaf coffee. But you get that water processed coffee because they decaffeinate it with chemicals, and the chemicals are carcinogenic, meaning cancer causing. So yeah, you don't just want to get decaf from the coffee maker in the commons.
Right.
You want to get your own decaf and make it yourself so that you're not getting those carcinogenic materials. So sugar is number one. We need to decrease that. You should not be consuming more than 2 grams of sugar in an hour. You guys know how many grams are in one of those sugar packets? 3.5. So if you like to drink 2 packets of sugar in your cup of coffee, that cup of coffee better last you 4 hours. And you better not have any other sugar in there. Any excess sugar above that 2 grams turns to fat, and it turns to fat in your liver. Yeah. Okay, so we got to change that. And sugar is one of the leading causes of inflammation. It actually damages. A lot of you have been told by your doctors that salt rips apart your arteries. No, sugar does. Sugar creates that inflammation in your arteries. And so you can live without sugar. You can actually live without carbs. Did you know that? There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. No such thing. You know the Eskimos? How many vegetables do you think they eat at the North Pole? No, and before McDonald's came in, they were outliving Europeans. They were living off of whale blubber.
No French fries.
Essential fatty acids and essential amino acids, basically proteins. So you can go fully ketogenic and live far healthier than a society that was living mostly. I guess I'm going too long, 52 minutes. Oh, goodness. I don't even know who started that. Oh, little boy playing with it.
Young man.
That gets it, okay. So yeah, no, so there's essential amino acids, essential proteins, essential fatty acids, no such thing as essential carbohydrate. Now a lot of the micronutrients that we need are in those vegetables, are in some of those carbohydrates, but they're not in the high glycemic carbohydrates, not the ones that are high in sugar. And so you've all seen the food pyramid, right? And what's the biggest food group? Bread and grain. Now how dense is bread and grain in micronutrients? Not very. Now you can live off of bread, but it better be whole grain. You can also make yourself very sick off of bread. A lot of you have had a nutrition consult with me recently, and I talked about leaky gut, and I talked about lectins. And a lot of you know the most famous lectin. What is it? I'll say it and you'll be like, oh yeah. Gluten. Yeah, gluten. Gluten is the most famous lectin. Every single plant, every single vegetable has lectins in it. It's a poison. It attacks your digestive system. It attacks anybody's digestive system, whether it's a cat eating a flower or a strawberry that's not ripe, or if it's a human eating a strawberry that's not ripe. It goes in and attacks the lining of the digestive system, particularly the small intestines, and it makes it more permeable. It's supposed to be selectively permeable. Only the good stuff's supposed to get in. When it attacks that gut lining, though, it gets stuck open, and then big chains of food get into your bloodstream. And then the white blood cells descend because that's an invader. And then what happens? Well, your gut gets inflamed. And what happens? Inflammation around the gut. You gain this belly fat. You actually create belly fat because of that. And so, you know how to tell if someone has leaky gut without doing a blood test? They're too thick around the waist and too thin in the shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. And you can be thin and still carry around that belly fat, can't you? Yeah, you may not see it underneath all your clothes, but you can still have that. So how many Americans do you think have leaky gut? Most. I would say most. Because gluten is in every grain product. And not just wheat, but every grain product. I'm talking about oats, I'm talking about quinoa, I'm talking about millet, sorghum, amaranth, all these healthy grains, healthy, quote-unquote grains, they have lectins in it. Now, how do you get the lectins to go out? Well, you wait until the food ripens. Do we do that in the U.S.? No. What we do to ripen grain is we take these planes and they fly over top of their crops and they release Roundup, active ingredient glyphosate. Glyphosate kills everything. And it kills the grain plant, but it sprouts. The last action it takes is it sprouts. And so we get a ripe, quote-unquote, grain or seed that we then take and we put into our bread. And it's covered in glyphosate, and it's not ripe. It still has all the lectins inside. And so a lot of us have created gut issues, have actually created heart issues, because we've been eating conventional grain, and really grain with every meal, right? You know, we eat a rice base, or we eat, a sandwich, or we eat some pasta, and all this is coming from conventional sources. And we're basically destroying our gut, creating leaks in that gut lining. And so that's a toxic effect, right? That's literally the definition of a toxin, is something like a lectin, like gluten. It comes in and it attacks our digestive system. So to detox, what's the number one principle of detoxification? What's the first thing you have to do? You have to stop, right? You have to stop exposing yourself. If you're drinking arsenic every single night, whether it's your own choice or someone else's choice for you, the first thing to detox from that arsenic is to stop drinking the arsenic. You're never going to detox properly. You can't drink all the activated charcoal drinks and green juices in the world and get it out of you. You have to stop exposing yourself. So who needs to stop eating grain tonight? Who's that first step? Yeah, a lot of you, that is your first step to avoiding heart disease, is stopping the leakage from happening. Second thing that I need you guys to get is we need to stop vilifying fats, but we also need to avoid bad fats. So I need to define what a good fat and a bad fat is, because we've been told for years and years that saturated fat is the enemy. Saturated fat is not the enemy. Who heard the article last year from the American Heart Association that coconut oil is bad for you? They said because it's mostly saturated fat. But when you look at the cell wall of every single cell in your body, it is over 50% saturated fat. Did God make a mistake when he created your cell wall? When you look at breast milk, what kind of fats are in there? Saturated fat, because it's essential for brain health, because over 80% of the fat in your brain is saturated fat. Can you get saturated fat up there without actually eating fat? It's going to be hard because you're missing essential fatty acids. Well, what are some of the essential fatty acids? EPA, DHA, ALA. I could go into what the names of those things are, but basically if you're not eating enough seafood, you're not getting those things. If you're not eating enough flaxseed or chia seed, you're not getting those things. And so we need to start adding healthy fats. What are healthy fats? Healthy fats are naturally occurring fats. What are unhealthy fats? They're the processed fats. Corn has fat in it, right? How much fat is in a kernel of corn? That's about 1/100th of the calories in corn. Mostly it's sugar. It's a grain. It's a grain, I'm sorry. Nebraska, we consider it a vegetable because it's Nebraska. But it's a grain. And so it's mostly sugar. It turns to sugar in our body. And when you process it, when you break it down, it actually starts to create inflammation. Not just from the sugar, but also from the fat. Because when you take that fat out and you make a whole bottle of corn oil, that took a lot of processing to get that whole bottle of corn oil, right? Now we create a lot of corn in this state, enough to create thousands, millions of bottles of corn oil, and that's not going to do well in your body. What's another one? It's considered a healthy oil. Canola. A lot of people have canola oil in their cupboard. A lot of healthy recipes, quote unquote, healthy recipes have that in there. And so it's important that we don't have that, because what it is it's a seed. I can't even make my hand small enough to show you the size of the seed. The seed's name is rapeseed, R-A-P-E, rapeseed, and they process it, and it's genetically modified, and so not only is it a highly processed fat, but it also has more pesticides on it. Oh, wow. Okay, so we need to cut that out. So what's a good fat? Avocados. Eggs. Let me talk about eggs. Eggs have been vilified again by the American Heart Association. And why? Because it has saturated fat in it. That environment, that egg is perfectly designed by God to grow a chicken. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfectly designed for you. You shouldn't live off of eggs alone, right?
Yes.
Jesus could have replaced bread with egg. He can't live off of any food source alone, but it is so nutrient dense. I would consider that a superfood. It is okay. You have my permission to eat that for breakfast every single day.
Good deal.
All right? It's good, right? That's good food. Now, meats also are very, very high, when they're raised the right way, in a lot of these essential fatty acids. But when they're raised on corn, think about steer over 100 years ago, when they were just free roaming on the prairies of Nebraska. When would they have encountered corn?
Not.
What percentage of their life?
Not.
Rarely, right? Maybe there's a wild stock, or maybe they wander into a farmer's cornfield and they get a little bit. But then they go and they live off of grass. And when a cow eats corn, if you were to stop or not slaughter it in this state, the way that we feed it, the way that we raise it, it would die on its own within 2 weeks because of how inflamed it is. And when you eat an inflamed cow, what do you think happens to you? And so those essential fatty acids, they aren't there in a corn-fed cow. And so I would say a lot of you, yeah, you need to stop eating grain, but a lot of you need to stop eating your cheap hamburger. You need to stop going to the drive-thru because it's only 99 cents and it's already cooked for you. Because you're not investing in your health, you're investing in your sickness and your disease. And I don't want that for you. That hurts too much. So there's a lot of good stuff for you online. There's a lot of good stuff for you in your nutrition book, in your Align Your Health book, that you can read about these plants. And I do suggest doing that because nutrition is absolutely essential to having a healthy heart because it's how we got ourselves into the problem in the first place in a lot of cases. I would say most Americans miss the mark. I get people that sit down and tell me, oh yeah, doc, you don't need to talk to me about nutrition. I eat fine. And they have bread with every single meal. They have dessert at least one time a week. And not the good kind, not the black bean chocolate cake like I give you guys on Patient Appreciation Days, but the actual sugar-filled, flour-filled, inflammation, bad fat-filled chocolate cake. And so there's a lot of steps that you can take. You just need to plug into the information. You just need to decide what that first step is. But for most of you, if you know you have leaky gut, if you've got that band of belly fat, you need the advanced plan. You got to start there. Because otherwise you're going to keep adding to the problem. We're going to cut out those sugars, we're going to add in healthy fats, and we're going to start taking out some of the toxins that you're exposing yourself to on a daily basis. Okay? So that's your homework. Look at that. Look at the website. Look up some recipes. Some of you just need to start by adding some good stuff. Just add the good stuff. Start adding the fruits and vegetables. Start shopping at the farmer's market instead of the grocery store. Because, yes?
I want to thank you for changing my eating habits.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really.
Has it made a difference for you?
No difference.
Good, good. I'm glad you listened. That's the hardest thing is to stand up here and teach and then nobody listens to you. But yeah, you got to practice what you preach too, and that's also hard for me. And so I just want to talk about some of those micronutrients that some of us are missing that lead to heart disease. The first one I'm going to talk about is magnesium. When you are low in magnesium, what do you think one of the most common symptoms is? High blood pressure. Yep. Now, magnesium is essential for just about every single process in the body. It's an essential micronutrient for your nervous system. And so when it's not working well, nothing's working well. When you don't have enough, you're not going to function as well. And so this is a great one. And this one is especially important if you already have high blood pressure. Because there's no way to tell without getting a blood test and getting that tested for magnesium levels if you have high enough levels. And I can do a muscle test for you and we can see how well you respond to this version. But this is absolutely essential. Next, CoQ10. Who's heard of CoQ10? If you're on a statin medication, your doctor should have taught you about CoQ10. Because by blocking cholesterol production in your liver, they actually block CoQ10 production in your liver. And CoQ10 is an essential antioxidant responsible for heart health. This is part of the reason why people don't do very much better on a statin for their heart as opposed to off a statin for their heart. Because it's blocking that CoQ10. And so if you're taking a statin, you absolutely need to be on CoQ10. But really, if your blood pressure is high again, regardless of whether or not you're taking a statin, you should probably be on CoQ10, because one of the top symptoms of not having enough CoQ10 is high blood pressure. Okay. Daily defense. So CoQ10 is an antioxidant. So antioxidant's job is to go in and bind to free radicals. Daily defense is a supplement that we have that has 3 super strong antioxidants in it. The first one you guys have heard of, curcumin. It's from turmeric. Yeah, the yellow in mustard or the yellow in curry. Yeah, absolutely one of those that if you have inflammation in your body, you need to go through a course of this in order to get that inflammation down. It's got gooseberry, Indian gooseberry extract, and it's got melon seed extract in it as well, and both of those contain powerful antioxidants as well. This helps to fight that oxidative stress that starts to create that oxidation of cholesterol in your arteries. And so if you haven't been on this at all, I recommend at least once every 3 months, go through a bottle of this. The next one, Optimal Omega. Optimal Omega is purely essential fatty acids in the ratio that they were designed to be in inside your body. And so it's omega-6, omega-3, omega-9 in their right ratios, but also from a good, clean source. And so the most missing macronutrient that most Americans have is fats, because fats have been vilified by the American Heart Association and by the FDA as a cause of heart disease, but it's not actually the case. We're depriving our cells and our nervous system of those healthy fats. And so we have this formulated specifically for you to get a source of that fish oil, get a source of that flaxseed oil, get a source of those healthy fats into your body without necessarily having to like fish. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah. Like other than like Cajun seasoned salmon, I'm not a huge fish fan. I'm sorry. I'd rather eat fish sticks, and I know that's not good for you. Right? It's basically like eating a French fry. Instead of potatoes, I'm getting a little bit of fish in there, but mostly bread. Now the other one is vitamin D3, and this is probably the biggest one, because I know even though it's been summer and it's still technically summer, we're not getting outside. We're not getting outside for 30 minutes fully exposed during the hours of 10 and 2. It's just not happening. And that's what you need in order to get enough vitamin D3 in your body. And when you have insufficient levels of vitamin D3, your risk of a heart attack goes up. When you have proper levels of vitamin D3, it decreases your risk of a heart attack by 50%. Everybody should be taking this all year long. And no, it's not 400 IUs. A research study just came out 2 years ago saying that that was off by a factor of at least 10. You should be getting at least 4,000 IUs every single day. But how long does it take research to get into practice? 20 years for a research article to become best practice. So even though we know this, and if your cardiologist has read this, he may know you need that, how long until it actually makes it into his cupboard to give to you? 20 years. And so can you afford to wait for your cardiologist to tell you to take D3? No.
How much did you say decreases the risk of heart attack?
50% if you have appropriate levels of vitamin D3. And the only way to test that is with a blood test. And you should, if you're going for a blood panel, make sure you're testing for D3. It actually, when you have proper levels, it decreases the risk of all forms of cancer as well. Some by as much as 90%. Yeah, this is a super hormone. And if you're not getting outside, you need a great source of this, and you need it in the right environment, because just taking it isn't enough. Sometimes when you take it, it just flushes out. It's a fat-soluble hormone, fat-soluble vitamin. A, D, E, and K. Those are the vitamins that you need to take that need to be in the presence of fat. So what do I suggest taking it with? The healthy fat. Take them together for proper absorption. And the other thing that separates our D3 from other people's D3 is that it comes with the probiotics and prebiotics to help with absorption as well. So you need both to get it to absorb, but you need it in that right environment. So what else do you need for a healthy heart? Fitness, right? A major function of your heart health is that oxygen. We know that when you exercise, you can normalize not just cholesterol levels, you can normalize your blood pressure just by exercising. It does the body good. We have, who was at the workshop that we did just on fitness? Yeah, just about everybody here. You guys like coming to workshops, right? I like you guys because you like coming and hearing me talk. It's good. But yeah, this is absolutely essential for health, but nobody, right, we already admitted this, is getting enough regular activity. And when you look at prehistorically, Adam and Eve, what were they doing all day? They were moving around. You think they were laying in the shade, fanning each other? I can't wait till the sun goes down and I can look at my iPhone. No, they were out collecting food. At some point, somebody taught Abel how to farm, right? Yeah, they taught Cain how to herd the sheep, and God told them to tend the garden. That's work, right?
Yeah.
That's exercise. But anymore, we have these white-collar jobs. We sit in front of a computer, and then we're like, oh my goodness, I'm too tired to exercise. Right?
Yes.
Too tired to get up and do what our bodies were designed to do. When we know that when we exercise, what do we get? We get a boost of energy. And to prove it to you, we're going to do it. Everybody up. I know, you guys are like, yeah, what is he doing? What's he going to make me do? Everybody on your feet, come on. It's not going to be too hard, and it's going to boost your heart health. All right, so all you need is 4 minutes. 4 minutes makes a difference. Yes, 30 minutes is better, but 4 minutes makes a significant difference, and I'm going to show you how. So we're going to do some punches. So try not to face anybody that you really, really like, because it may create a problem in your relationship. But if you dislike the person, just get up real close. But yeah, bring your hands up, feet spread apart, and we're just going to do 30 seconds of punches. And I want you to punch fast. It's not like big haymakers. We're going to go speed punches, speed back. All right? We're going to go in 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go fast. It's almost like you're running in place, except you're not moving your feet. And this engages your triceps, this moves your biceps, this moves your shoulders, your chest muscles, your back muscles. You're engaging. Engage your core. Brace through your middle. Engage those core muscles. You're doing great. You're really doing awesome. And you're making a difference for your heart. Good job. All right, now. Feel your energy level right now. Is it better than when you stood up? Absolutely. That makes a huge difference in energy levels. It makes a huge difference in just your ability to oxidize the things that need oxidized and to flush out the things that flush out. One of the best ways to regulate your bowels? Exercise regularly. And so you need those things in your life. Everybody can have a seat. But yeah, now how you do this. If you want the most bang for your buck, do that. 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. 4 minutes. Start with 4 minutes. Who can do that for 4 minutes? Who can't do that for 4 minutes? I think everybody here can. And if you're having trouble with that movement, try a different movement. Because we could have done that with our feet too, right? All you just do is step as fast as you can. You know? Do jumping jacks like this. Do push-ups up against the wall, right? This is a lot easier than doing it on the floor. But for some of you, that's about as much as you can do. It's important to just start at the level that you're at and do something. Do something. Walking may be too much for some of you. But if you grab the edge of a table, you can do some baby squats. Just do them fast. Do what you can now while you still have the ability to do something. Because if we don't, it's going to catch up to us. And we're not going to be able to do anything eventually. Eventually, it's just nurses coming in and lifting your arm up, right? Keep you from getting bed sores. You know, this is how they start. If you're morbidly obese, the nurses do the workout for you. They just give you movement because movement is life. If you don't move, you die. We know this. We have to move. So you have to start by moving more. Mindset is the key thing of this. If you just said, I can't, you're done. No, you're done. If you say you can't, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can say. You just proved yourself right. I can't. But if you said, you know, I think I could do this, that's step number 1. Step number 2 is doing it some more. And then waking up the next day and doing it again. And I just had an epiphany this last weekend. I went to camp up in Estes Park, right? And some of you are like, why are you leaving, Dr. Jake? And I'm going to miss my appointment because you're not here on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I'm like, no, I need to go and I need to train my mind so that I can get stronger, so I can be a better example. So one of the things that I realized is I've been self-sabotaging my entire life. Ever since high school, I've told myself I'm not a morning person.
Oh, really?
I've told myself I'm not a morning person. My whole life. So what do you think it's very hard for me to do? Get up in the morning. And I've gone to camps before, and I've gone and, basically repented of not listening to a sermon. I need to get myself pumped up so I can come and serve you guys. But I couldn't because I said I'm not a morning person. And every time the alarm clock would go off, I would curse and I'd hit that snooze button, or the Satan button, right? And then we'd go off, 5 or 10 minutes later, curse again, hit it again, and eventually it'd be like 6:40, I gotta roll out of bed, and I don't even have time for a shower anymore. I basically just slather on the deodorant, and I run into the office. How good of adjustment do you guys think I'm getting when I'm just sprinting into the office with no preparation, no mental state to serve you? Maybe it's halfway decent. Maybe.
At least deodorant.
Yeah, at least you got deodorant. Maybe I brushed my teeth. Some mornings I need to shave, right? You see me with a little scruff? Yeah, no, that happened. But this weekend, I realized that I wasn't having trouble getting up in the morning just because God created me as a night owl. I was having trouble getting up in the morning because I said I'm not a morning person. I said how hard it was. I spoke that into life. Every single day. And our words have power.
Yes, they do.
Real power. I have to quote the scripture, but it's not completely clear in my mind. But the power of
The power of the tongue.
the power of the tongue is life and death. All right? So if you curse yourself by speaking a curse, then that's going to come true. Just like if you bless yourself by speaking life, that's going to be true. And so if you say you can't do any of these things, if you say money's too tight, if you say I can't make it because of the time commitment, if you say I can't fit in this exercise because my physical limitations, that'd be too hard, you're right. But if you say I can do this because God blessed me with the ability to take the next step, then you can step into it. And it's just one step followed by the next, followed by the next. And so the most important thing tonight isn't any of the food you put in your body. It's not the exercise you do. It's not even the toxins that come in. And I don't even have time to get into everything. It's about your decision today to take action. To take action. And a lot of it is stress, right? Everybody knows stress causes heart disease. We need to choose to not manage stress. We need to choose to create peace. How do we create peace? Well, it's actually in our reaction because we all have stressors, right? Our wife is mad at us, or our husband is mad at us, or there's something new that we have to do, just to stay legal in something. And it's something that must be done, but what controls the stress level in your body? Your reaction. Yeah, your mindset about that stress. And so how do you control that stress instead of just reacting to it constantly? You have to create time that is peaceful. Whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, you focus, you meditate. If you're a Christian, you pray. You get connected with the Creator. And you allow those things to be filtered through His perspective. Or if you're not a Christian, the eternal perspective. Because this life goes on after we die, whether you're a Christian or non-Christian. This life goes on. We're just a small part, and there's something bigger than all of us. There's an intelligence that governs this world, just like there's an intelligence that governs your body. And if you want to call it God, great. That's exactly what I believe. But if you want to call it something else, good for you. But just take that next step and not allowing your stressors to control you, but actually taking responsibility, taking control of that environment, that reaction that you have. Someone can walk up to me and punch me in the face. Did a fight start yet? No, because I didn't hit him back. And if I choose not to hit him back, then he's going to jail for assault, and I'm fine. But if I hit him back, now we could both be charged with assault, just depending on who does the most damage, who's witnessing it, what the courts decide to say, as far as it goes. And I have to live with the consequences of my choice. Just like when I choose to have that chocolate, that Hershey's bar, that's a choice that's going to build heart disease. When I choose to have that Subway sandwich with all that gluten in it, I have to choose to live with the consequences, including heart disease, right? And so it's absolutely essential that we make that choice to no longer react to the stress, but to give everything over to God, to have those moments of meditation, to create that peace. And that's the number one reason why I did that. To make that decision not to be speaking negatively about that, to become that morning person, is so that I could have those moments. Because they don't happen, because my kids don't like to go to bed early. They don't. My son, he's up till 11, then he goes to sleep, and then he wakes up at midnight and he comes into our bed. Like, it's not going to happen for me at night. But if I make it in the morning, before anybody else gets up, then I can get those things in. I can do my exercise in the morning. And exercise is a great time to do this. A lot of people, we've done yoga on Saturdays. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. But most things in life that are hard are worth doing.
Yes.
And yoga is one of those times when you can start to meditate. We play praise music in the background so you can focus on the Creator and focus on the things that He wants for your life, the stresses of the week. And yeah, maybe you'll get stuck in one position and just be praying through the whole thing. That's great. I don't need you to become a yogi. I need you to be able to control your own environment, to make those things. And then we do have to focus on the one system that controls the other systems. And so if you've missed everything else, if you don't have your one big action step yet, know this, that the health of your heart depends 100% on the health of your nervous system, because it controls all function. And this is where we get it so wrong. Because when you think about the way that we do health in the United States, we don't invest in our health until it's too late, right? We wait until there's a symptom, we wait until we feel it, we wait until we look awful and things are falling apart, and then we go spend money for a miracle cure, basically, right? We get this drug. We go to this doctor, he runs a test, he gives us a drug, he gives us a medication, it covers up our symptom, and if it doesn't, we run back, he gives us another test, another drug, and if that doesn't work, we go to a special doctor who gives us a special test and a special drug at a special price. He's called a specialist, right? And then if that doesn't work, we run over to the surgeon. He's going to do a test, and he's going to say, did God malform one of our organs and cut it out? Because that must be the solution to our problems. That's our healthcare system. Sounds a little crazy. Now, it'd be one thing if it works, but is it working? No, we spend the most money on healthcare out of any other country in the world. We take more medication than any other country in the world. We're 5% of the world's population. We take 74% of the world's prescription drugs. We take 80% of the world's painkillers. We take 90% of the world's psychotropic medications. Because to think that money and drugs would make you healthy, you got to be a little crazy, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely, completely insane. And it's because, problem number 2, we don't know what health is. We base our health on how we feel. Is it possible to build heart disease in your body and feel just fine? To look good, to feel good? Who knows Bob Harper? Biggest Loser? Yeah, the trainer for Biggest Loser. He's on, he's on all the fitness cover of the magazines. He was 52, 2 years ago. He was working out in the gym, had a heart attack. He knew more about health than, I'm guessing, most of you. And he and me were probably about the same area. But he knew more about how to take care of his body than anybody else, and he practiced what he preached. But how could he be building heart disease in his body and not feel the symptom? Well, it was underlying. He said it was genetic. And he blamed his genetics. He said his granddad and his dad both had heart disease in their body. Well, who taught him? Who raised him for the first 20 years of his life?
Right.
That was already there and it was already building. And health is not how we look or how we feel. Health, as defined by the American Heart Association, by the American Medical Association, by every dictionary that there is out there, is 100% optimal function. And one system controls that. It's your nervous system. For your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for your blood pressure to come up, for your blood pressure to go down, the signal has to go from the brain, down the spinal cord, out those nerves, to every single cell and tissue of the body. It doesn't happen any other way. And I know this not just because of the research, but because if I take a pair of scissors and I snip the brain stem, what happens to every organ, cell, and tissue?
Heard that.
Yeah, immediately. If I cut the nerve going to the heart, what happens to the heart? It stops and you die. It doesn't matter, it doesn't discriminate. But we don't have a pair of scissors running around our body willy-nilly cutting nerves, do we? No. But we do have this thing called the spinal column, which is designed to surround and protect your nervous system. It has a normal position. It should be straight up and down from the front with 3 45-degree curves from the side. And in that position, your nervous system is perfectly protected. It is functioning at 100%, and if your body's functioning, or if your nervous system is functioning at 100%, how well is your body healing and functioning?
Good.
Pretty darn well. Pretty darn well. But if you take any of those vertebrae and you rotate them out of position by 2 millimeters or 2 degrees, or flex them forward or back 2 millimeters or 2 degrees, that's that much. That's enough to put the weight of a dime of pressure on your nervous system. The weight of a dime has been shown to reduce the function of the nerve by 60%. And so, how important is it to keep that pressure off of the nervous system? Yeah, because if that's the nerve that goes to your heart, is there any way your heart's healing and functioning at 100%? Is there any way that it's taking that organic spinach and creating a new healthy heart? No, there's no way it can. There's no way it will. Now, you may not be poisoning yourself as fast. You may be giving yourself a few more nutrients, but it's not becoming heart cells at 100% rate. And so you can do all this stuff. You can exercise. You can eat right, like Bob Harper did. But have you seen his profile from the side? What's that? Ear to shoulder. He's got forward head posture. Now, who's gone bowling? You get that 8 to 15 pound bowling ball, just depending on how strong you are. You pick it up and you carry it around out here or in here. As close as physically possible to your body, because every inch that you take that forward, that's 10 pounds of pressure to your liver. So that's like, what, 150 extra pounds? Yeah, no, you don't do that. You let it go out there, right? And then it goes down and hopefully you get a strike, or 3 strikes and you get a turkey. But yeah, same thing is true with our head. Every inch that our ear goes forward from our shoulders, that's 10 pounds of pressure right here, affecting the heart. And what do we do all day? We've got our laptops, we've got our cell phones, and we do that. And that adds up to 60 pounds of pressure right there. And so I'm just going to do a demonstration right now. Because you guys, you can't measure your blood pressure right now, right? That'd be, nobody's got a blood pressure cuff that you can just strap on. So these nerves also go out to the lungs. So we're going to do a quick exercise. I want you all to drop your chin to your chest. And I want you to take a deep breath in. All right, now sit up, straight and tall, shoulders back, head up. Take another deep breath in. How much deeper was that breath?
Much.
And we did not restrict your lung capacity, barely restricted your trachea. What we did is we had 60 pounds of pressure to the nerves that go out to your lungs and reduce the function of your lungs by almost the exact same. And so if you're doing that, does it make sense that you would train your muscles, ligaments, and tendons to hold that as a normal position? So what does normal look like? Well, we start with the neck, because this is the area we're talking about, right? The nerves that go to the heart, they start in the neck. And so it's supposed to have that 45-degree curve. That's called an arc of life. It's not supposed to have any forward head posture. In that position, just like that, the space around the brainstem and spinal cord is wide open. But you take any of those vertebrae, you rock them 2 degrees forward, 2 degrees back. Now you put the weight of a dime of pressure on your spinal cord or on the brainstem, you're going to affect the function of what? Every organ, cell, and tissue in your body. Because we're hardwired, right? No cell phones up in your brain. Not unless someone had one installed. I don't know what Google's doing these days. But yeah, no, we have to have a hard signal going through the spinal cord down to every organ, cell, and tissue in our body. We can't move our pinky toe without the signal going through our neck first. And so we always look at the neck. And if you haven't had an x-ray of your neck, is there any way you know how well your nervous system is feeling and functioning? No, none whatsoever. There's no way to tell. Who needs to know this if they want a healthy heart? Everybody. So who needs an x-ray? Everybody. And so that's why we do that here in this office. That's why we start with the nervous system before we even talk to you about nutrition. Right? Because we could waste our time doing all those other things and never end up with a healthy heart because we never got to the true root of the matter. And so if you were thinking about those tests and you were to go to Bryan Hospital, you're going to go to the emergency room, you're going to get all those tests done that we do here in this office with the x-rays. How much do you think that would cost you?
Couple thousand.
A couple grand, easily. Because normally we take 4 x-rays. Normally we do a digital nerve scan. We actually measure that function in your body. I don't charge that much. My normal fee is $130 for the exam for the x-rays. And so if you've never had your nervous system checked, if you've never checked to see how well your heart is healing and functioning from a neurological level, that test, if we set that up for the next 2 days, is a 50% discount. 50% off of the exam and 50% off of any necessary x-rays. And if you've got a family member that needs to be here to have their nervous system checked to see if their heart is functioning, they get the same deal. Because it's not just about us, is it? No, when you know this information, you have an obligation to share it. Because I know each of you, if given the opportunity, would share your belief in Christ.
Yes,
Yeah, and that saves you eternally.
yes.
But if you don't ever get there because you had a heart attack before someone got to share that information with you, yeah. So they need that information, not as much, but almost as much. To be able to fulfill your purpose, you can't do that if you're lying in a hospital bed. You can't do it.
Amen.
So we gotta keep going. So we gotta share this with our friends and neighbors. So next steps. Let's skip Chuck. Chuck got a fusion surgery, had a heart attack on the table. Next step. So if you've never had that exam, sign up tonight for that exam. Do that at the front desk. That's going to be the most important step you ever take for your heart health. Then, if you need more information, great cardiologist. He was voted best cardiologist in Phoenix in 2011, 2012, and the difference between 2011 and 2012 is in 2011, he was the partner in a traditional cardiology clinic, and all he did is order heart tests and prescribe statin medications. 2012, he opened up his own practice, became the paleocardiologist, and started running tests that actually get to the cause and offering treatments, not just to get blood pressure lower or cholesterol lower, but to actually get to the cause of the problem. This is the book I read in preparation for this talk. This is the book I left about 99.9% of stuff out of for this talk, because there's no way I could fit it all in and do it justice. So there is a chapter on chiropractic in here. His wife is a chiropractor, and let him tell you how important chiropractic is for a healthy, functioning heart. So that's a great next step. A lot of you know someone that needs to be here. And a lot of those people won't just accept a 50% discount off of the exam and x-rays, will they? No, they need to hear it from the horse's mouth. They need to hear it from someone who's trained in it. And so that's what the community dinner is for. Who's been to a community dinner? Yeah. How great is the food?
Oh, good.
Did you have to pay for it?
No,
Who paid for it?
you did.
I did. Why do I pay for it?
For us.
Because every single one of you deserves to know this information and also deserves the opportunity to take action on it. So that's why I do this. And I want Debbie to come up for a second. Can you share a little bit about your story? Because you came in here from a dinner. Yeah. Now that I got her teary-eyed.
I know. What you do that for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I came here because of Chris. And she was a friend of mine, and she kept asking, and I kept saying no. And finally one day, all I had was a neck ache,
That's it.
among 1,000 other things wrong. But I thought, well, maybe he'll come by and just fix me quick or something, you know. Anyway, one of the things I'd add is attitude of gratitude. And I'm so grateful for Chris for getting me started. And everybody here needs to pass that on to a friend. And the girls, when I come in, I feel like I'm home. You guys are awesome. And you've solved everything I've asked you to solve. He asked me to bring my medications. You guys, this was 2 years ago. That's a list of all the things that are wrong with me from my doctor 2 years ago. And that's just what the doctor said. No, and by the way, on the bottom, vitamin D deficiency. Yeah. And then here's all my medications. Plus this whole page.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 2 years ago. You know what I take today? I take 3 pills and insulin. That's it. Yeah. And every single thing I've taken off of here has been during enjoyed seeing Dr. J every single time. I had a car accident, it'll be 9 years in October. Broke the little bones in both feet, damaged my knees, damaged my hip, broke my lower back in 2 places, broke my tailbone, 5 broken ribs, torn rotator cuff. I saw it coming, I held on to the steering wheel so tightly, I gave myself carpal tunnel in both hands. Had 2 nasoplasties, I damaged my eyes, damaged my ears, there's probably something else in there I forgot, I always do. But in this time, I've had over 40 surgical procedures. And the medications gave me colitis, gave me a reaction that caused congestive heart failure because I was on a lot of breathing, what do you call it? Yeah, all kinds of problems, allergies. And I'm not taking any of those now. And the diphenhydramine gave me congestive heart failure, which I know now, I was already heading that way, it just accelerated the process. So I've learned a lot, but I'm still a work in process, I tell you. But, yeah, you talk about the 2 highest, and then I think the 3rd is what, diabetes? Well, I have congestive heart failure, cancer, I've had a hysterectomy and a mastectomy right before I came here. And diabetic since my car accident. And one of the first things, within 3 weeks, you know, when you get a breast removed, the ladies know you get lymphedema and you have trouble moving. And then, after 3 weeks with this guy. No, this guy. That's nothing but get better. And one day, my mom had kidney stones really badly, and I felt it coming, and I had gallstones. I had my gallbladder out during this process from all the medications. And I called Dr. Jake, and I said, I'm not coming in this morning, so I'm going across the street to the urologist. And he said, just come on in, you know, I'll see you early, come on in. So I came in and saw you, went right across the street to the urologist. Didn't get it yet. And he said, even though I was in a lot of pain, he said, oh, it'll be 2 weeks before you can get in. So I went home and I'm crying. I called Dr. Jake back. I said, what do I do? He said, come back in. In 3 days, I didn't have any pain at all. I've never had any problems with kidney stones since. And I can go through a whole bunch of things like that I saw on your thing today, the muscle spasms. I don't have those anymore. And I had to change to 3 different water pills, which now I don't take. But because of those, and after seeing you, those all quit. It's just been, I'm a work in progress, and I'm not his best patient.
Wendy, would you like to share a little bit of your story?
Wow.
This surprised me.
I told you to be ready.
Wasn't expecting this. My sister Chris also brought me to a dinner, and I suffered with migraines, 3 of them a week. I've had my gallbladder out, I've had kidney stones, the heart medicine you said, I'm off of that, blood pressure, ever since I've seen Jake and been in this office. And I've been here since February, right after Valentine's Day. And like you said, they're like family. It's not really, I don't feel like I'm a patient. I don't. I feel like I'm a part of a family. And you get to know people and, you know, say, hey, how you doing? And they lift up your spirits. And I love that. And then I love coming here and learning more of, you know, what we can do. When I started, I weighed like 265 pounds, and I'm almost down 40 pounds from that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's incredible. incredible. And we have so many stories like that. And so many of them start at a dinner or at an event like this, where someone just thought, hey, I should bring such and such a person. They deserve to know this information. And yeah, not everybody decides this is for me. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a weirdo, right? You know, I don't conform to the patterns, right? I go against the American Heart Association. That might be a little weird to some people. It might be a little weird to you. You might have trusted what they've said all this time. But making a change, choosing to make a change and choosing to make a difference, it does. It makes a difference. So get a friend there. And then we've got another workshop coming up where it's the lasting immunity workshop. Prevention is powerful. And what are we preventing? Really, any malfunction. Any malfunction you can think of, but we're going to focus in on cancer. And this, I want this to be the biggest event we've ever done. I want to fill up a church with you and your friends and everybody that you know. I want Costco to be there because they've got some great organic products. That I want people shopping at Costco because they're the biggest investor in organic produce and farmland in the world. You know, and if we're going to turn the statistics on cancer around, we're going to have to do that. I want Jane to be there with her table with, I forget the name of...
Pure Haven.
Pure Haven, with actually clean beauty products. Because what you put on your skin does end up in your bloodstream. It absolutely does, and we need clean beauty products to do that. And if you know somebody that's clean and that is on this mission with us, I want them there too. If you know that they're not clean and they're not on this mission yet, I want them there too. And so sign up for that tonight. If you're a guest tonight, you're going to get the patient discount for signing up for that event tonight. And so that's normally a $50 ticket. You're getting it for $10. If you are here tonight as a patient, you're already paid for it. That event is already paid for. You just need to show up. And if we're going to prevent cancer, which I said every American gets heart disease, 1 in every 2 Americans gets cancer in their lifetime. And top 2 killers in the United States right there. So who needs to be there?
Everyone.
Absolutely everyone. And so I want you to bring your friends. I want you to bring your family. Everybody needs to be there because you can't take action if you don't know the information. But you also need the motivation to get there. You need to take that next step. And so I also have a challenge for you. So everybody had to choose something, right?
Yes.
You need to do it for 30 days. What I want, and one of the things that Jack Wolfson, the paleocardiologist, talks about is the importance of supplementation. Our food has been so depleted of nutrients. We have 70% less nutrients in a head of broccoli than we did in the 1930s. And broccoli is a health food.
Yes.
And so we need to supplement. And so this is my first challenge where I've ever issued a supplement challenge. And so those 5 supplements that I listed off are on sale. They're up here. The magnesium, the CoQ10, the omega, the vitamin D3, and the daily defense. All of us have heart disease actively building in our body unless we do something to combat it. And so, yeah, start with the nervous system. Re-plug in with your home care. But for the next month, because each of those are a month-long dosage, I want you to take that every single day. And I want you to take it before blood pressure, and Gabby can do that for you. She's in nursing school. She can actually do that, full nurse certification. She's not certified yet. Yeah, CNA, right? Yeah, CNA. She has certification. Yeah, absolutely. And she can measure that for you. I'll measure it for you. We'll get the before, and then we'll get the after. After a month of chiropractic and adding in the good stuff, let's start making some of those other changes as well. Do that for 30 days. This is my challenge to you. See if it makes a difference. Test it. Just do the 30 days. And if it doesn't make a difference, I'll give you your money back on the supplements. But those are 10% off. 10% off the whole thing. 10% off. No, 10% off each individual supplement I sell in my office. 20% off the entire package. If you buy them tonight. And if we run out, because I know we're low on a couple of these, pay for it tonight. We'll order it. It'll be here by the end of the week. We'll get it for you. So get that tonight. Start it. Let it make a difference in you. We'll invest in your health, and we're going to make a huge change. Now, we've got some prizes. First 4 of these, first 4 names on draw are going to get a copy of Cruise Ship or Nursing Home. If you already have it, give it away or trade it for another book that you don't have yet. But this is a great book. It has inside of it the 20 and 30 weight loss challenge, how to lose 20 pounds in 30 days. And every step along the path is that. But everybody get out your card. I've given away 4 of these. Then we've got our grand prize provided by Costco, which is an excellent set of cookware. All right, so for the first copy of Cruise Ship or Nursing Home, we have 9989. Anybody lose yet? 282.
You're kidding me.
Do we have a winner?
Is that you?
I got that.
You've got this book? All right, we'll trade it for something else then. Congratulations. Give her a hand. Next one is another copy of Cruise Ship or Nursing Home. We have 9989 288.
Hey.
All right. Do you have this one too?
I think I do.
Okay, we'll double check, and you can either give it away or trade it for one that you don't.
You know what I find is loaning that book to a friend piques their interest. And then it's a great opportunity to talk to them about, hey, I actually got this community dinner coming up that my doctor, you know, and then you can transform their life that way too.
Because this has all the subtitles, it has the eating plans, it's got recipes in the back, and then it's got, for those of you that are nerds, it's got all the footnotes. Nerds like me, people are like, oh yeah, I need to go look up this study that was cited in this book. It's got all the footnotes in it. Yeah. All right, so third copy of the book. So 9989 283.
Nice.
All right, there you go. All right, one last copy. $9,989 277. All right. There you go. All right, and for our grand prize, thanks to Costco. And if you haven't checked out their table, they've got some healthy snacks back there. They've got some example of healthy foods you can buy. Yep, organic products. They got strawberries. I haven't made it back there yet.
Raspberries.
Yeah, no, some of my favorite berries. They've got some examples of products that you can buy that are clean. This is one of my favorite ones to get from Costco. I've got these at home. The ceramic cookware. Yeah, so much of the toxins that affect our heart health come from what we're cooking our food in. And a lot of it we don't even know about. We're getting formaldehyde, we're getting aluminum, which directly affects heart health, just all sorts of different stuff. This doesn't have that in it. It's got ceramic, and it's got titanium to make sure it doesn't scratch off. Because I've bought ceramic cookware in the past and just scratched right off, and I had to buy new stuff. And who wants to invest in a set of pans every 2 years? Yeah, not me. So, grand prize.
I should have put a number in here.
I know. I like give myself a prize, split my wife here or something. So 9989 293. All right. Good job. All right. So now's the time to take action. If you have any questions, I'll stick around. I'll talk to you. Angie's going to help check out with supplements in the back over there. If you need to, if something runs out and you need to put it on order, she'll take a note and she'll collect, but she'll also put that on order. If you need to set up an appointment, Gabby's up front to help you. Pavel is going to be here to answer questions. I'm going to be here to answer questions. If you got one that applies to everyone, feel free to just shout it out. I'll answer it out. But let's get you going. All right.
Sign up sheets for dinner.